God bless. That was all Robert De Niro needed to say, and somehow it said everything. When news broke that Robert Duvall had passed at 95, De Niro didn't talk about awards, box office numbers, or legendary scenes. Instead, he quietly hinted at something much deeper: longevity, respect, and a life spent doing the work the right way. And that raises a bigger question. How did Duvall, a man who rarely chased the spotlight, become one of the most admired actors in Hollywood history? Because behind the calm voice and understated roles was a career built on choices most stars were too afraid to make. And once you see how he played the game, everything about that God bless hits differently. Robert Duvall was never the loudest name on the poster, and that was exactly the point. While other actors chased attention, he built a reputation as the guy who made every scene feel real, even when he barely spoke. Directors trusted him because he didn't overplay anything. He showed up, locked into the character, and disappeared into the role without asking for the spotlight. In an industry obsessed with image and ego, that kind of restraint was rare. What made it even more unusual was how respected he was behind the scenes. Actors knew if Duvall was in a film, the performances would be grounded. No gimmicks, no theatrics, just control, timing, and a quiet intensity that pulled viewers in without them even realizing it. He wasn't trying to be a star. He was trying to be believable. And that approach didn't happen overnight. Years before he became a household name, Duvall was already proving he could hold attention without saying much at all. That skill would soon land him in a film that didn't just change his career, it changed Hollywood forever. When The Godfather came along, Robert Duvall didn't play a flashy gangster or a hot-headed heir. Instead, he became Tom Hagen, the calm voice in a room full of violence. He wasn't related by blood, yet he was trusted more than almost anyone. The lawyer, the fixer, the guy who cleaned up messes before they exploded. And that quiet authority made him unforgettable. What made Hagen so powerful was what he didn't do. No shouting, no dramatic threats, just measured words and total control. In a movie packed with towering performances, Duvall stood out by pulling everything inward. Audiences felt it, even if they couldn't explain why. Hollywood felt it too. That role earned him his first Oscar nomination and instantly rewrote how supporting characters could steal a film without stealing scenes. Behind the camera, the respect was just as intense. The director noticed it immediately. Duvall didn't need endless takes or big adjustments. He clicked into character almost instantly, like he'd been waiting for the role his entire life. But as legendary as that performance became, Duvall later admitted something surprising about it, and it had nothing to do with the acting. Years later, when people expected him to talk about pressure, fame, or the weight of being part of such a historic film, Robert Duvall went in a completely different direction. He said his one regret from The Godfather wasn't the script, the role, or the experience. It was his hair. Or more specifically, the hair piece. It sounds like a joke, and maybe part of it was, but it also revealed something deeper about how he saw his work. Even after delivering one of the most controlled performances in cinema history, his mind went straight to the smallest detail. Not the applause, not the awards buzz, just the tiny visual choice he thought could have been better. That was Duvall in a nutshell. Still, he admitted something else just as telling. While they were making the movie, everyone on set felt it. This wasn't just another film. There was an unspoken sense that they were part of something massive, something that would last. Those were good times, he said. But even as the world began to celebrate him, Duvall was already looking in the opposite direction, away from fame and towards something most actors were too scared to choose. Instead of riding the wave and turning himself into the next untouchable superstar, Robert Duvall did something unexpected. He openly questioned that kind of fame. While other actors were becoming brands, he made it clear he didn't want that life. Playing the same version of yourself over and over, just under different lighting, felt limiting to him. He thought it looked boring. He watched actors who were constantly in the spotlight and saw something they couldn't escape: expectations. Bigger paychecks, louder attention, but less freedom. Duvall wanted the opposite. He wanted to disappear into characters, not be recognized everywhere he went. So even when his career was considered hot, he stepped away from films entirely and went to Broadway instead. People didn't understand it. Why walk away when Hollywood finally opens the door? But for Duvall, it wasn't about momentum. It was about control. He believed that sharpening his craft, even if it meant risking relevance, would lead to better roles down the line. And that gamble would soon pay off in a way that proved he was playing a much longer game than anyone realized. That long game paid off in a way only Robert Duvall could pull off. When Apocalypse Now finally hit screens, he delivered a performance that was impossible to ignore. Lieutenant Colonel Bill Kilgore wasn't just intense, he was unhinged, charismatic, terrifying, and weirdly calm all at once. The kind of character that lives in your head long after the movie ends. What made it even more powerful was how effortlessly Duvall slipped into it. No overacting, no forced madness, just total commitment. That's when the industry stopped seeing him as just a great supporting actor and started calling him one of the best, period. Francis Ford Coppola didn't hold back either, openly praising him as one of the 4 or 5 best actors in the world. And yet, even with that level of respect and another Oscar nomination, the biggest recognition still hadn't come. The trophy everyone assumed he'd already earned was still missing. But Duvall wasn't chasing it. He kept working, kept choosing roles carefully, knowing that when the moment finally arrived, it would mean more because he hadn't forced it. That moment finally came in 1984 with Tender Mercies, when Robert Duvall won his first Academy Award. By then, he had spent decades quietly building a career defined by precision, patience, and unwavering dedication. The win wasn't just a trophy, it was validation of a lifetime spent putting craft above fame, substance above spectacle. Even after the award, Duvall didn't slow down. He kept working because that's who he was, an actor who needed to work, who thrived on the challenge of each new role. Fame and accolades were nice, but the work itself was the real prize. From The Judge to Widows and finally The Pale Blue Eye, Duvall kept choosing parts that challenged him, even in his 90s. His approach sent a quiet message to everyone watching. Longevity in Hollywood isn't about chasing headlines or selfies. It's about integrity, discipline, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. And that's exactly why Robert De Niro looked at Duvall's life and said what he did. Because in a world that celebrates speed, flash, and fame, Duvall proved that steady, dedicated work can leave a mark that outlasts almost anyone else. Even in the later years of his career, Robert Duvall refused to let age define him. While many actors slowed down, he kept stepping into challenging roles, proving that talent and dedication don't have an expiration date. From sharing the screen with Robert Downey Jr. in The Judge, to tackling intense new projects like Widows with Viola Davis, and finally appearing alongside Christian Bale and Gillian Anderson in The Pale Blue Eye, Duvall never lost the spark that made him legendary. It's no wonder Robert De Niro publicly expressed his hope to live as long as Duvall, because longevity wasn't just about years on Earth. It was about staying true to one's craft, constantly pushing boundaries, and leaving a legacy that younger actors could only dream of. Duvall's life wasn't measured by box office numbers or magazine covers. It was measured by decades of unforgettable performances, silent respect from peers, and a standard of excellence that refused to fade with time. And in that sense, his story isn't just about a career. It's about redefining what it means to succeed in Hollywood. It's about proving that true greatness isn't about being the loudest in the room, but about leaving a mark that echoes long after the spotlight fades. Robert Duvall's story is a masterclass in patience, dedication, and quiet brilliance. He showed the world that success isn't about constant attention or chasing the next big headline. It's about doing the work, respecting the craft, and choosing roles that challenge and inspire. From The Godfather to The Pale Blue Eye, he built a career that spanned decades, earning respect, admiration, and yes, awards, but always on his own terms. When Robert De Niro said he hoped to live as long as Duvall, it wasn't just about age, it was about legacy. It was about a life lived fully, with passion, integrity, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. In a world obsessed with fame and fleeting moments, Duvall reminded everyone that true greatness is quiet, lasting, and earned, not shouted from the rooftops. And that is the real blessing of his life and work, a standard that will inspire generations of actors long after the final curtain falls.